Hello and welcome to the Space Update at the Fantastic Total Space Network. Coming up on today's show, we'll be talking SpaceX, NASA's SLS, and teenagers discover 4 new planets. I'm your host Ryan, and joining me today is...
I'm Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays.
Yeah, it's just the two of us today, myself and Miko. Just to start off, Japan have got a new rocket coming up, the new H3 rocket, getting closer to its first flight and everything. We've seen a few images of it online, booster sections and various other parts. Seems like a good medium lift vehicle, that one. It's from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, that one. Good solid rockets by them. Capability of that one's about 6 or 7 ton payload, more or less, depending on the orbit required. And it's powered up by 4 little SRBs and 2 LE9 engines, which is LH2 and LOX, which is liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen engines on those. Total power hasn't been confirmed on that one, but I'm estimating around 1.3 million pounds of thrust overall on that first stage. So good new rocket for Japan, one of many this year. Obviously, we've got SpaceX, ULA, and various other new startup companies, the likes of Skyroar and many other companies launching this year. And we've also seen a handful of small companies launching in the past few days, haven't we, Miko?
Yeah, there's been Blue Shift Aerospace who launched a small rocket. I think it was under a mile, but still a rocket launch with solid rocket booster. Then there was another company, was Lia Aerospace. Do I remember
I
right?
believe it was like 2 to 3 kilometers. That some of those. I don't know if it was that one that we were watching earlier on today and everything. But some good little companies coming up through using green and biofuels, which is in a way the way forward for a lot of the smaller companies. They can't all start off big like SpaceX and everything. So a lot of good rockets and coming through and everything. But some good news there. But also being a new planet discovery. 2 Massachusetts high schoolers, 16-year-old Kartik, I believe, and 18-year-old Jasmine have helped discover new planets via the TESS, which is the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite. I'll get it right. That which hunts for alien worlds via transit method, noting tiny satellite dips in stars, brightness caused by when the orbiting planets cross the face and everything like that. Spacecraft perspective. The team confirmed 4 such planets caused the dips in the light curves on HD 108236, if you've heard of it.
No.
Probably not. Which lies about 200 light years away from Earth, so not very far, and we're probably never going to get there because obviously I think 1 light year takes about 35,000 years to travel in this day and age. So we're not going there anytime soon, folks. So don't get your hopes up. But 3 of the 4 newfound worlds are gaseous planets, slightly smaller than Neptune, and the fourth one is a super Earth, which is quite interesting. A rocky planet, a bit larger than our own. All four exoplanets lie close to that HD 108236. Don't know why they haven't come up with a simpler name for that, and who knows. Their orbital periods range from just under 4 Earth days to around 19.5 Earth days to orbit. And just put that in perspective, our solar system's innermost planet, Mercury, in our own solar system, completes 1 lap around the sun every 88 days. So those exoplanets that are just being discovered by those 2 teenage kids of all people have found some planets in incredibly fast orbits. Those ones, but
Yeah.
very promising
Yeah, I mean,
discovery.
usually the uh, planets found with this are really short orbits because then they can confirm the find pretty fast when they see it again. So I think it would take years to find a planet that does plus 100-day orbits.
Yeah, and we've got the likes of the James Webb Space Telescope coming online and everything. So, with the help of TESS and the NASA James Webb, and I believe there's one or two others. Forgive me, I forget the names, but there's quite a few coming online. And as those all come online, we'll probably find more and more little minor planets, maybe more galaxies, even deeper into space. Because as technology improves, we can see further into the depths of space, which would be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think there's after James Webb Telescope, there could be the Louvre Telescope. That's like maybe 10 years from now, minimum. That's the one they actually rendered inside a Starship.
Yeah, yeah. And those two kids have done the found the discoveries and everything. I believe one of them's studying applied mathematics and astrophysics, so carrying on along the lines of this planetary discoveries possibly. And the other's been accepted into a 5-year-long master in astrophysics program at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. So not too far away from our co-host Rich up in Scotland there. But absolutely fantastic that kids so young are getting involved with space programs and the search for planets. Really, it's just really promising that a lot of people are coming through the ranks and more discoveries are being made, and many, many more coming up. Really.
Yeah, and these days it's very cool because you can actually contribute yourself by going online to a certain website that has some images from the telescopes, and you can train the AI to look for the correct stars, dips, and sometimes human is better to see the differences than AI, and you may even find a star yourself.
Yeah, yeah, because you see a lot of like amateur astronomers just with their own telescopes in the backyard, just accidentally finding stars, planets, and everything else, don't you? So you don't necessarily have to have multi-million pound telescope or anything like that to find something in the sky. You just need half decent telescope and point it in the right direction. You might find something.
Yeah, I think the second interstellar object, that was the Borisov comet, or I know it wasn't a comet, but named Borisov, just like the Oumuamua that came
Yeah,
from outside our solar system. That was found by an amateur astronomer.
yeah, yeah, fantastic. And moving on to some more news, onto SpaceX and everything. Just to start off on a slightly unrelated topic, one of the ones that was launched on the Falcon 9, Sirius XM's newest satellite, XM7, or SXM7, I'll get it right, tongue twister that one, has actually failed in orbit. They haven't disclosed what problems have gone awry and everything, but they believe that one's failed in orbit after a launch on Falcon 9. I believe it was last month or the month before that one, I think. But it's launched on, I think, December the 13th. It was launched, that one. So something's gone awry there, but they're not willing to disclose it. But it was one of the Sirius XM's newest satellites. Suffered undisclosed failures during orbit testing and everything. Company revealed in a filing that the US Securities and Exchange Commission on Wednesday disclosed that on January the 27th that it's actually failed and everything. But hopefully they can find out the root of the problem so that won't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a good idea to send satellites worth hundreds of millions and lose
Yeah, I
them.
believe this one was in the realms of 220 million. So big hefty insurance claim there, depending
Yeah.
on depending on what went wrong, obviously.
Hmm.
So the full extent of the damage is not yet known, and everything at this time it's unclear whether it can actually be recovered. So that's an ongoing one. So we'll bring the latest news on that one. And believe it, just jumping on to Starship now. SN9 possibly still waiting FAA approval. We've had a few TFRs here and there and everything, but nothing from the FAA as of yet. Potentially Tuesday, tomorrow. That's the latest that we're getting from Elon and everything. But whether that transpires into anything, who knows? But I think myself, the flight for SN9 might just roll on to Wednesday or Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, I think there was actually a tweet by Christian Davenport that said that the Starship may have gotten FAA approval or may got even today US time, so flight tomorrow could be possible, but I think Wednesday is more likely.
Yeah, definitely. And Elon was noticeably frustrated, calling out the FAA out on Twitter. Unlike its aircraft division, which is fine, the FAA space division has a fundamentally broken regulatory structure. So Elon hinting at that some changes need to be done to get Starship to Mars, by the sounds of it, because he was one or two strings of tweets getting a bit frustrated and everything. But I think it's we're probably going to see it more and more because you've seen yourself, everyone online, the speed of the building the Starships now. We've got SN9, SN10, SN11 halfway built possibly, and SN15 not too far behind. So FAA are going to have to pick up the feet and get these tests done. Otherwise, it's just going to become a backlog because they've only got 2 test stands at the moment. Obviously, they've got the orbital test stand, but that's not functional in any way, shape, or form yet.
Yeah, and kind of seems like that FAA is just not ready for SpaceX's fast innovation and trying to fly multiple times per month.
Yeah.
That just seems to be running their old routines.
Yeah, and on those string of tweets, Stefan Powell, funny enough, from Dawn Aerospace, who we've got on in the next week or so, replied to Elon. He said, "Pro tip: fly your rocket as an aircraft," which I found quite funny because they're Dawn Aerospace are a company planning to do almost like a single stage to orbit within reason, fly up to high altitude, then kick in a rocket engine along the lines of Virgin Galactic and the likes of that. And that's what Dawn Aerospace are planning on doing, but single stage to orbit and everything. So just found it funny that he chipped in and said, "Your solution is make an aircraft."
Yeah, it will be an interesting interview with them.
Yeah, and that one's coming up in the next 2 weeks or so that'll be an interesting one. But I think we might see a static fire on SN10 because that's finally on the test stand now before we actually see SN9 launch, I think. Because with all the hold-ups with the FAA, if we don't get approval, well, official approval, there's rumours that there is approval, but if we don't, I think they'll just go ahead and just crack on with SN10, get the engines on there, do the pressure tests that are needed, and just do the static fire. So then they could turn around and say, we haven't got one, we've got 2 rockets ready to go now to test. Come on, meet us halfway, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome, but I think Elon did tweet that they will have to do cryo before mounting the engines, so it would take likely a couple of weeks before SN10 is ready, even if it has the plumbing installed.
Yeah. And more interestingly as well on SN10, I don't know if you saw the actual detail on the belly side of SN10, a hell of a lot more heat shielding on that one. You could see like all the hexagon tiles on a large part of the body, a good meter or so of those hexagon tiles. So it'll be quite interesting to see maybe SN10 hop a bit higher than SN9. But I believe SN9 is just doing a similar flight path to SN8, around 10 to 12 kilometers. So if that's successful within reason, I believe SpaceX might just take SN10 to maybe 15 to 20 or maybe higher, just to get a bit more heat on the belly side of that rocket.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, SN9 will be around the same as SN8, and there is around 200 heat tiles connected to SN10 at the moment, and I don't think they can go too high with those
Yeah,
because they don't have the whole heat shield. It may even be that they can only test them properly with orbital flights.
yeah. I mean, with the heat shielding as well, I'm quite interested to see how they fit it around the flaps and everything, and the wings or whatever you want to call it. Because the body will be easy enough. Some people seem to assume that the heat might just deflect off them with it being stainless steel, but this has got to be a reusable rocket, so it's got to withstand 10, 20, 50, 100 times doing the same thing, re-entering Mars, re-entering Earth. So I imagine they're going to put the heat shielding on the underside of the body and the flaps. But how they're going to do that, because they move around, and then you got where the body flaps join, you're going to have like a little gap and everything. So how is it going to stop the heat getting through the gaps and burning the top half of the Starship? I don't know how they're going to solve that problem, because the flaps are still got to essentially move up, and you've got that lever arch kind of mechanism powered by the Tesla motors and everything. So they're going to have the heat shielding on the body, but when they have the heat shielding on the flaps, you're still going to have that problem of the hinge, if you like, on the flaps. How they're going to stop the heat escaping and either A, getting onto the top half of the Starship, and B, getting inside the mechanism that actually moves the wings and everything. So it'll be quite interesting to see how they solve that conundrum. But I believe that'll be the orbital tests, I believe, that one. So my money's on the first orbital re-entry going a bit wrong.
Yeah, that's very likely. And yeah, it
Yeah,
will be interesting to see how they solve all those problems with the heat shield. I mean, they currently have all the heat shields are the same, so they are not in the same setting with the space shuttle that had many different kinds of tiles.
yeah. And we slowly start to see the Phobos and Demos oil rigs and everything. Some rumours about some work beginning to start on those. I know it's being stripped down at the moment at the yard that they're being pulled into, but there's rumours of some construction slowly starting on those. Be interesting to see, but obviously that'll be a good year and a half away before we see anything transpire from that. But I think the idea is that one's going to be potentially be a launch pad and one be a landing pad, because obviously they do the test launches on land, but once it comes to the fully 28 engines of the Raptors and everything, that's just going to be an absolute monster of a rocket. So they're going to have to sea launch it, which Miko covered, funnily enough, in a previous episode. So if you want to check that
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But so,
The episode was last Friday, and we had Felix from What About It with us speculating about the oil rig's future. Good
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Recommend.
Yeah. Good. I think my guess with that is one's going to be a launch pad and one's going to be a landing pad for the booster. How they position that for a certain orbit, I don't know whether they'll be able to move them as such. But I believe oil rigs, once they're in place, you can't really move them because it's a fixed position kind of thing, and it costs absolutely millions to move them, even back to land. In the region of, I think SpaceX rumored to paid about 8 to 10 million just each to bring the oil rigs back to land. So they've paid in the region of 20 million just to bring the oil rigs back to land before they've even touched them. So SpaceX obviously plowing a lot of money into converting those, but it'll all pay off because once you have a reusable Starship and everything, and there's super heavy booster, hopefully all those costs will start tumbling down, cost per launch and everything, and it won't just benefit them, it will benefit the whole space industry, traveling to the moon and everything associated with that, really. And once all that's set up, onwards to Mars and beyond, multiplanetary and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it will be really interesting to see what they actually do with the drilling platforms.
Yeah, and one from one planetary rocket to another. SLS got another second test on that one that NASA had just announced. They're going to conduct a second critical engine fire test of its SLS or Space Launch System. Bit of a short static fire, if you like, because that one's only about a minute long, but they're going for a second test. What do you think the chances are of it still launching at the back end of this year or early next year, Miko?
This year kind of starts to seem quite unlikely, but early next year, why not? They could. Well, I think early next year is the.
Yeah, my money's on probably middle of next year, because they'll have to do, for me, another 1 or 2 tests, because it's not just the boosters, not just the engines. Still got to integrate it all and test it as a single unit. And obviously, if they test it all as a single unit and one thing doesn't work, they're going to have to take it all back down, put it all back apart, assess all the different sensors and everything else. And it's Boeing, so obviously you've got to bear that in mind. Boeing, not a great track record recently with computer hardware and everything. We've got Starliner coming up very soon, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they've crushed some bugs and actually get Starliner to the International Space Station, which in turn will hopefully prove well for SLS, really.
Yeah, now that they are under tight NASA Overwatch, I think their software is starting to get there where it should be.
Yeah. So we'll have another test. Hopefully a good 8-minute test, the booster this time, not just a 1-minute one. And lots of good data from that. And just going on from another new launch vehicle, Virgin Galactic have just announced this morning that they're going ahead for another test on the test launch window opens on the 13th. So any time after the 13th, we'll see their launch vehicle have another go. So hopefully following on from Launcher 1 by Virgin Orbit, hopefully they've solved their minor engine startup problem. So similar kind of vehicles, they're both air launched in a way and everything. So hopefully they've solved the technical glitches and everything associated with that. So hopefully the launch, because I'd love to see that just get underway, really, because it seems been on development for quite a while, really, because they've flown it and everything. They've done a handful of launches, one fatal failure in the past, but they've managed to rectify that and everything. But another exciting one coming up.
Yeah, and I think since they have already launched it quite a few times, I think they pretty much know already what the problem was and did fix it quite easily. And I also read about their plans for this year. First, they had a plan to launch about 30 times, and now they have a plan to launch only 4 times. So it caused a bit of a delay.
Yeah, but hopefully everything will goes plain smoothly sailing for them and everything. Is there any more news that you've come across, Miko, before we wrap up here?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, we all do our own little bits of research. I always double check.
Yeah.
Just a short and sweet one this week. Not an awful lot going on too much, but hopefully we'll have some good news on Starship by the end of this week. Maybe another live episode, a reaction episode. Hopefully, if we get a launch, as well as everyone else out there on the internet and everything, and on YouTube. So best of luck to SpaceX and everyone out there. Thanks again for joining us this week's episode. I've been Ryan from the Space Update.
And I've been Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays.
And a big thank you to all our Patreon members out there: Warhawk, Angry Astronaut, Howard Walker, Sammy Oscuro, What About It, or Felix, Jigsaw Sebastian to the Future, Gaio Pagliari, Framrick, Susie, and Marco. Thank you very much, guys. And if you'd like to support what we do here at Total Space Network, we've got the 3 shows. Obviously, the Space Update myself. You've got Miko there, the Deep Dive, and we also got Rich from Become Multiplanetary with Cargear. Got the 3 shows there. If you want to support what we do, everything, head over to patreon.com/Total Space. And we also got our merch store set up. So lots of great goodies up on there. If you want to grab yourself a t-shirt, a mug, whatever you want, all branded up. Where else can you find us, Miko?
Don't forget to check out our new website at totalspace.net. And you can also find us on Twitter, totalspacenet. And yeah, there's quite a bit of nice merch. For example, Mikko fan club t-shirts. And yeah, all the shows have merch now.
If you want to become a Miko fan club member, head over to the website and get your merch now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Do
guys.
it.
And thanks for joining us. As always, we're always over on Twitter if you'd like to follow us. I'm always up there sharing all the latest news and everything, and badgering NASA and everyone else for more information. I've been Ryan from the Space Update. Catch you all next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.